Welcome to the More Than Scrubs podcast, a podcast where dentists and healthcare professionals can learn how to thrive in or beyond their 9-to-5 job. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my scrubs. But in this podcast, I want to explore how we can build a side hustle, a business, or excel in our careers so that we can have that work-life balance that everyone's always talking about. Healthcare careers have evolved so much in the past decade, so let's find a way that we can evolve with them. My name is Dr Chopra. I'm a dentist, a business owner, and I want to take you on this journey with me to find out how we can be more than scrubs. So let's dive straight into it. Okay guys, so today I've got Sugz with me here. Sugz, can you give an introduction about yourself for everyone who's listening?
Yeah, I'm Sugz. I am a dentist, well, predominantly a general dentist, and I run a copywriting agency, and I've been doing that for about 3 years.
Okay, firstly, let's talk about dentistry.
Okay.
How long have you been qualified for?
Qualified in 2018 from King's, and so what's that, like seven years?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah. And now I've just only private practice, so I left the NHS last year, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Okay, great. So firstly, podcast is called More Than Scrubs. So when did you decide you wanted to do something more than just work in your scrubs?
Since day one. I think since, like, from the moment I was in dental school, I always knew that I would be doing something else. Copywriting, which we'll probably come on to, came later, but it was always going to be some sort of business, and I thought a service-based business would make the most sense. Reason being, you know, like when I was about 13, I was doing graphic design then, and then I was doing web design, and I've always been doing like little things on the internet. So service-based businesses came naturally to me. So yeah, always knew that I wanted to do something more than just dentistry alone. I'd find that quite draining. So
qualified in 2018. So do you feel like while you were in dental school, you already were doing other things? Or was it after you qualified that you felt like you needed to do something else?
No, even before I qualified, I was doing music back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, before that I was doing design. So I was always doing other things up until this point.
Yeah.
So
was it always the plan to be a dentist, but also do other things?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Because a lot of people don't know that. They qualify and then they feel like, okay, maybe I can't do dentistry 5 days a week all the time.
Yeah.
So then they look into what they might want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the purpose of this podcast is to basically teach people how they can do what you're doing. Can you tell us about that first?
Yeah. So I'll go into what copywriting is, because I think people...
I need to know as well.
Yeah. So what copywriting is, I think the easiest way to explain it is selling in print. So what I mean by that is, what I do is, if you remember from school, persuasive writing.
Yeah.
It is that. So companies within healthcare, predominantly healthcare anyway, basically hire me to write advertising or emails or any form of persuasive content for them. That's what I do. A lot of that for me is like website copy, or it could be emails for like an email campaign for a company. It could even be leaflets, like old school traditional leaflets. So that's a lot of what I do, is basically persuasive writing. I think that's the easiest way to explain what copywriting is.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to explain it, because I was like really confused. And it's like we tend to overcomplicate things, and I guess it's not if you've been doing it for a while. So do you copyright for like dentistry, or is it other things as well?
Funnily enough, I started out as a generalist. So I was working for like anything, plumbers, electricians, all kinds of stuff. And gradually I found my niche naturally. So went into healthcare because of naturally of what we do. Yeah. And now it's become just dentistry, because those are the brands that seek me out. It's not necessarily that I wanted to work with dental brands. It just so happened that that's become my main market. Okay.
So in terms of writing for dentistry, are you writing from the perspective of a dentist, or how does it work?
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be. It depends on the brand. So let's say hypothetically it was a line. Yeah. Like Invisalign. That would be writing for dentists. Yeah. So the main reason they'd bring someone like me on is because as a dentist, it's easy for me to understand what we all want. Yeah. But sometimes it can be from the perspective of a patient as well. If it's like a what we call a consumer-facing product, so toothpastes or aligner cleaning things, whatever. all that kind of stuff you need to write from the perspective of a patient. So it depends on who the market is.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, you've got different hats on when you're writing. When did you realize that what you're doing is something that can be monetized?
So it's during the pandemic. I wanted to figure out a business that I could do.
Everyone did stuff during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was like a make or break point for a lot of people, right? Yeah. And for me, it was, I knew I loved writing and I wanted to find a way of monetizing it. And I looked at things like writing books and whatever, but that's quite a hard field to crack. And then I stumbled upon copywriting, learned what copywriting was, which I kind of covered already. And yeah, exactly. The way I got my foot in the door initially was doing free work.
Yeah.
And then using cheap platforms like there's types, I don't know if you come across Upwork or Fiverr.
Yeah.
So doing work on places like that, you don't get paid a lot, but the great thing about it is the experience you get.
Okay, fine. So how long do you think it took you to get the experience? So you started in COVID. Obviously, I guess you never really know like when you're experienced enough to do something, because do you have a qualification? It's just you do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you know when you're enough to start charging people money?
That's a good question, actually. I don't think you do. I think you always have that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever knew that I was ready. I think the advantage in my case was because I was working on Upwork and these kind of cheaper platforms, you know, $50, $100, whatever it is, to that company is nothing.
Yeah.
So whether it was good or not didn't matter too much to them.
True.
So that was a good starting ground. And I'd say that to a lot of people who are trying to learn a new skill. Working for cheap or working for free is the best way to do it, because at the end of the day, the company's not going to be that angry with you if it doesn't perform the way that you expect it to. So, yeah. When
do you think that it did start to make like a significant amount of money for you?
I think that was about a year in.
A year in?
I think about a year in.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so again, how did you find those places to work?
So after I got a few portfolio pieces through working cheap and working free, that was the biggest leverage for me, because once I had the portfolio, then I could reach out to brands. And for me, I've tried everything. I've tried like cold emailing, which is literally just emailing brands who have no idea who you are.
Okay.
I've tried that. I've tried DMs, just DMing, like searching who's the founder of this company and then finding the founder, the marketing manager, the director of this company, and just messaging them. And you kind of get your foot in the door that way.
Yeah.
And then it's just word of mouth from there. Like I don't do much of that anymore. Now it just kind of comes through word of mouth and content on LinkedIn and things like that.
That's really great, because I think I'm guilty of this as well. I feel like things will just fall into my lap, but you actually have to work for stuff and you have to put yourself out there. And now you've got, you're reaping the rewards of doing that. So I guess a message to everybody would be, it doesn't just happen easily. Like, okay, you've learned about copywriting or you've learned about what you want to do, but no one's going to work with you if they don't know who you are. So you need to tell them who you are, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a big lesson for us as dentists, because we're so used to this kind of get your BDS and then you do your MFDS or whatever, and then you follow this pathway. Whereas if you're getting into entrepreneurial ventures or content creation or whatever it may be, there is no linear pathway.
Yeah.
It's just brute force. And a lot of the time you do have to get a lot of doors shut in your face, which we're not used to.
It's really disheartening because you know what? With dentistry, it's like, okay, I've got that patient, the list booked in. I just turn up to work and it's all there. But you actually, even with dentistry, you don't think about behind the scenes. Like it takes a lot to get those patients in the chairs. So it's like everywhere you go, people aren't just going to buy your services just because you're you. There's got to be a bit more to it. So you said, obviously, putting yourself out there, creating a portfolio so that you can show people your work. Anything else?
Content's been the biggest thing for me. So I've been posting on LinkedIn probably, it's coming up to maybe about 2 years consistently.
Your posts are really great on LinkedIn. Yeah, they're really like eye-catching, and it's something that I want to read and learn from. So it's really good. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I think that's actually part of what copywriting is. It's getting someone's attention.
Yeah, so, I guess you're good at that already. So that helps.
Yeah. So that's been the biggest kind of lever for me, I'd say, over the past year. And that's why I haven't needed to do outreach and like cold emails and stuff like that, because people reach out to me through LinkedIn having read my content.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. And is there anyone that influenced you on this path, or did you just literally come across copywriting randomly?
Yeah, I came across it randomly.
Yeah.
But in terms of growing as a copywriter, there's loads of people in the copywriting sphere. So anyone who's looking into this or marketing, some names to look out for. There's a guy called Ben Settle. There's a guy called Sean Anthony. And these are basically copywriters that have advanced from just doing client work to now having their own products or partnering with people and marketing within a partnership more so than just providing a service for someone, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so you're kind of following their footsteps.
That's what they're inspirational.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'd want to do and grow into eventually, yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So just give us a recap. So step by step, if someone wants to go into copywriting, they are a dentist part-time, give us like just a quick way. How can they do that?
I think number one, learn what it is. And I think that sounds really stupid, but actually learn what copywriting entails and understand what's involved. Read a couple of books. I think it's really tempting, especially as dentists, because we're so used to, if we're new to something, do a course, do another course, read these books, that book. You know, it doesn't work like that with copywriting because you only learn through reading and, you know, perhaps reading a couple of books. So the books that I would recommend is a book called Cashvertising by Drew Whitman, and there's a book called Adweek Copywriting Handbook, I think it's called, by Joseph Sugarman. Okay, those are the two books that I would recommend to anyone who wants to get into copywriting. Those are like the fundamentals. So once you've got the books, next thing, just put it straight into practice.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you don't have clients at this point, so you write for fake clients. So you write for the people you actually want to work for. So if you're a dentist, you might want to work with Henry Schein or Align, for example. So find one of their products and pretend you're one of their copywriters and write a Facebook ad for them or an email campaign for them. Put that into practice and write as much as you can. And then after that, it's learning what works in the wild. So what I mean by that is you want to be looking at marketing that these companies are already doing and studying it. So I literally still do this to this day. I'll take a screenshot of a website of a brand that I want to work with. And I've got a little tablet and I annotate and I say, okay, why do they use this word? Why do they put things in certain order? Why have they led with this emotion at this point in this page or whatever it may be? And you annotate and you really dissect it. That's how you understand what good copywriting is and how you become a good writer, let alone a copywriter, is understanding what's behind the words, which sounds a bit cliche, but it's kind of understanding the meaning behind.
That's really cool because it really shows that you're passionate about what you do because you are looking into it and it's not just like typing something on ChatGPT. I think the theme is you have to work hard for things that you want. You don't just get them. And I guess it helps that you have a passion for what you do. So we've got those steps. You need to read some books, do some research, work for free, potentially on those websites that you mentioned. You need to get in touch with different companies, kind of put yourself out there, advertise yourself, have a portfolio that you've built up. Now let's get into really monetizing. Like, how do you work with different brands and different companies and how do you get them to pay you?
I would say you have to, it's really hard because at the start, especially if you're trying to work with massive companies, a lot of the time, if you reach out to the founder, they're not going to respond to you.
Yes.
So you have to get really kind of borderline stalker mode and go on LinkedIn and figure out, okay, how many people work at that company? So you might have 150 employees at that company. Now, if you are an aspiring copywriter or a marketer, the people you want to target are marketing managers or CEOs, not CEOs, CTOs. You want to target people just the rung below founder or leader or director.
What's a CTO?
CTO is like a chief technical officer.
Okay.
So you want to reach out to these people, or CMOs, chief marketing officers. You want to reach out to them on platforms like LinkedIn or email. And the most important lesson I would give to anyone who's kind of getting into this, one message is not enough.
Okay, so you do have to be annoying.
You really have
and
to.
I guess don't look at it like you're being annoying. You're trying to help somebody.
Exactly.
So yeah, you need to put your, you need to keep saying it until they accept.
Exactly. Like I always say, selling is something you do for someone, not to someone.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that dentists hate.
Yeah, honestly, it's so true.
Because we look at it like we're trying to manipulate someone or get someone to do something against their will.
Yeah.
But you're doing it for them. And that's exactly what you're saying with like reaching out to people. It's not annoying if what you do is genuinely going to help them.
Yeah, exactly. So
annoying.
I think one thing to take away is we need to change our mindset about how we approach people, whether it's in dentistry or in our side hustles like copywriting. We're doing something to help somebody, and we need to recognize our value and then position it in that way rather than just, hey, can I work for you?
Yeah.
Cool. So if we talk numbers, how can we earn enough from this to maybe cut down a day at work? And is it easy to do that, or does it take time?
I'd say it takes time. And before that, I'd say you have to be clear on what it is you want.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I never looked to leave dentistry behind completely. It was never an idea that I want to make a business that enables me to leave dentistry.
Yeah.
Dentistry facilitates me to take risks within what I do in my side hustle. So I can afford to spend a few £100s a month on Facebook ads and it not go anywhere, because at the end of the day, I'm still earning from dentistry.
Yes.
Versus if I was to, try and leave dentistry behind, that consistency of income is no longer there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's quite scary. And I've been there before where I've cut down my days quite significantly to try and focus on the business. And I didn't enjoy it because at that point, it becomes just another job.
Yeah, agreed. So we're really lucky that we have that. We've got dentistry, we can be flexible with how much we work, and we can, I guess, use that income to nourish our other hobbies or side hustles, or what would you call it? Is it your side hustle or is it your other job? What do you call it?
I just call it my business, because I think the problem with side hustle is it kind of almost diminishes it within your own brain as like something I just do on the side. I don't need to care about it too much.
Yeah.
Whereas it is almost, I am a dentist and a writer. It's not a dentist, but I do a bit of writing.
Yes.
So it's like you're wearing two hats. So I think more for yourself than other people, just reframe it as, but the side hustle is just an easy way to say it.
Yeah. No, but you're absolutely right. I think we need to change that. We're not going to call it side hustle. We're going to call it dentist and a writer.
Yeah,
I really like that. So I don't like the idea of like putting yourself in a box anyway. So I don't like saying I'm a dentist because it feels like that's what defines me and I can't do anything else.
That's true.
So it's nice to say you're this and this and this. You're so many other things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep asking about earnings, but basically how do you, if you're approaching a company, how do you know what to charge? How do you quote, or do you let them take the lead? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I didn't know when I started. I'd say, so when I started out, I used to charge hourly, but then I realized that's a really bad way to do business, because especially with something like copywriting or any sort of service, people will then look at you in terms of, okay, well, why is it taking so long? So for example, if I'm doing a project and I estimate it's going to take 5 hours, naturally any business owner is going to be like, well, can't you do it in 3?
Yeah.
Right. And the issue with that is then the quality is inevitably going to go down. So I got to a stage, I think I started hourly, to answer your question. I started hourly, but then once I figured out, okay, this is how long it roughly takes me to do X or Y, then I have in my own mind, what's my kind of rough hourly rate that I'm going to aim for and roughly how long it's going to take. Sometimes it works out great because I might have done it in less time. Yeah. Right. But sometimes it doesn't, because you've worked way more hours than you envisaged and it doesn't work out in your favor, but that's business.
Okay. So you're setting your own kind of hourly rate and then you're giving them a quote?
Yeah, a project-based fee. Yeah. And what that would include for me is revision. So what that means is, if I've written a piece of content for someone or a piece of copy, I will often give them 2 revisions. So that's 2 tweaks. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, they would have to pay extra, because there does come a point, and I only do this because I've learned the lesson of doing something for someone and then there's just been revision after revision after revision. It's just never ending. So you definitely have to have some sort of clause like that if you're looking to offer a service to someone.
Okay, and do you have a contract when you're offering the service?
Yeah, a lot of the time I do, but I'm not super formal with contracts, and I think that's not a good thing, by the way. I think it is better to really be black and white with what you offer.
Yeah.
But luckily, a lot of the people that I work with, I'll say a good 80% of the clients I work with are quite chilled. We have quite a chilled relationship. So we've been working together for such a long period of time. I'm not drafting a new contract every time we work on something new. Is that a good way to work though? I don't think so, but it's just the way that I find comfortable at the moment. But if it's a new client, for sure, has to have a contract. Okay,
so if I'm just starting out and I want to work with somebody, do I just kind of write my own contract up? How does it work?
There's a few online.
Yeah.
If my advice would be try and go for, so the contract that I use is really simple English. And the reason why I opted for that is because if you download some random document online or you ask ChatGPT to do it, it's going to include stuff that you don't understand. And if I don't understand it, I'm not signing something that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's I keep it really simple English. And I think clients appreciate that too, because when they're reading it, they're not looking for small print and things that you're trying to trip them up on. They just understand this is what I'm offering. This is how long it's going to take. This is how much it costs.
Fair enough. And how long does it usually take you to do a project?
That can vary. So that depends on if it's, let's say, a Facebook ad campaign. That could be a week, but then it could be an ongoing thing. So a lot of these clients I'm working monthly on a monthly retainer with. Sometimes it could be a one-off project. If someone's just redesigning their website and they need someone to write the content for their website, that'll be a one-off project. So that could easily be a week or two. But the difficulty in my case is because I'm still practicing dentistry 3.5 days a week now. It's balancing that. That can make the project length a bit longer. Okay,
and that leads on to my next question really nicely, which is how do you manage having to, well, you call them businesses, right? So you all yourself as a dentist are a business and also copywriting. How do you manage all of that?
It's not easy. It's not easy. There's two reasons why I say it's not easy. One is dealing with clients, because clients are business owners and you can't expect a business owner to understand that my only day off is Monday and Tuesday. So you're going to have to wait for the next Monday and Tuesday for me to, or you're going to have to wait for 8:30 p.m. when I get back from work.
Fair enough.
That's hard. And I think the other thing, the way I find it's easy to balance is I'm quite, how do I say it? Like, I don't really negotiate a lot with my time. So what I mean by that is I've cut out a lot of social events, or if someone needs me to do this X, Y, and Z, I'm very brutal with, no, I've got this project to do. And if you're not, and if you're too liberal with your time, then it's not going to work out for you. So setting boundaries, is that with friends, family, colleagues, what you're doing? And how do people feel about it when you do that? I think it's again, there is an element of self-awareness. Yeah. So for me, it's, family is, I'll do anything for them. So I'll drop whatever it takes for them. Yeah. Friends, my close friends understand that I'm busy. So I think initially it is a little bit like, wow, we've not seen you in like a couple of months. Yeah. But then after a while they get used to it. Colleagues, that's probably where I'm more, brutal is probably the wrong word, but I'm more like, I set my boundaries very clearly, because colleagues can easily, could be like, oh, can you just have a look at this clin check or this treatment plan or whatever. And that could be half an hour. Well, it seems like half an hour to them, but then it's half an hour that you've lost focus, and then now you've got another hour to try and get your focus back into what you were doing before. Yeah. Before you know it, you've burnt through 2 hours. Agreed. So do you have, what days do you work firstly as a dentist right now? Right now, Mondays, half day, Wednesday, half day, Thursday, Friday, full days, and then 2 Saturdays a month. Okay. So that's still pretty intense. It can be pretty intense. Does that work for you? It works for me right now. Yeah. I think this is my max capacity of dentistry, I would say. Yeah. Before it's like, I can't physically fit in. Yeah. Okay, fine. I guess you're doing well at juggling things and setting boundaries, but have you felt burnt out, and how do you deal with that? Yeah, I felt burnt out in the past. I probably don't deal with it very well, because I find it quite difficult to take a break, because naturally as dentists, self-employed, you take time off and then you feel like you've lost a week of earnings,
Yeah.
which is the wrong way to think about it, by the way. But it's just natural human nature to think that way. So I've been burnt out before, and how do I proactively avoid it now? I mean, I try and plan breaks in advance, or like a week off work in advance. But the downside of that is a week off work, like dentistry, can end up being a week back into your other business or whatever else you're doing. So you're not really taking a break. You're just shifting work or focus from one thing to another. So.
Yeah. And do you find like even on your say dental days, you're thinking about your other business or vice versa?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we practically implement things into our lives to step out of that and really just care about ourselves, do you think?
I think I keep saying this phrase throughout our conversation, but it is self-awareness. Like, it's realizing what is it that you value a lot. So for me, for example, I meditate regularly, and I always have to set aside time to meditate regardless and pray. So that for me is a non-negotiable every day. But for example, for some people, like my friends, it can be exercise. Like they have to go to the gym every day. It's a non-negotiable. So it's figuring that out for yourself, and that's what's worked for me. I'm still not great at it. I still probably don't take enough breaks, but
tell me a bit more about meditation and praying. So you said it's a daily thing. How long has it been daily?
Second year of uni, 2014, so probably about 10 years.
That's something I want to do. For example, every morning, I've had so many cycles of this. Like, I want to meditate, I want to have a quiet morning, but sometimes I will wake up and I will just pick up my phone and I'll start checking my emails, or I'll do whatever, and then suddenly it's like time to go to work and I haven't had the chance to meditate, and I'm blaming like external sources, but it's definitely my doing.
Yeah.
So how do you stay disciplined and just, you need to do it, so how do you do it?
I think initially it is just sheer discipline of setting out a specific time. So not just saying I'm going to meditate this morning, but it's going to be I'm going to have my coffee and then I'm going to meditate. It's specifying exactly when you're going to do it. Secondly is not beating yourself up when meditation doesn't go right. So even to this day, when I meditate, sometimes my mind is just full of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's things constantly circulating. But one of the things to understand about meditation is it's almost like gym. So every time you bring your attention back to the breath is a rep. So it's not a bad thing that you're thinking about work and you're thinking about bills or whatever. And then every time you think about that and bring it back to the breath, that's a rep. So your brain is getting more and more strong with every rep that you take.
Yeah.
Same way with gym. So it's kind of just initially just sheer discipline. And also don't feel like it has to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes of you sitting in a quiet room.
Yeah.
You can practice meditate. Like sometimes I have the same problem. Sometimes I start work at 7:45 in the morning. So sometimes I don't have the time. So I park up at work and it will literally be 2 minutes in my car.
Yeah.
But that's still something. That's still a practice.
That's really disciplined. Well done. That's really good. Great. So you mentioned meditation is something you've done since second year of uni. So let's take it back to uni or when you qualified. Do you feel like it really helped you kind of ground yourself and balance yourself?
Yeah. I'd say meditation. I think meditation and prayer go hand in hand for me because normally I pray at the end of a meditation.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand, but it does help to quiet the mind and it helps you be more present because we're in this society now where everything's moving at such a pace. It's so easy. I mean, a good exercise for everyone to do is like try and think about what you've done for the past 3 hours. Like actually think about it. Not I don't know, I met up with friends and I went to the pub.
Yeah.
More in the sense of what did I actually do in 10-minute chunks, in 10-minute increments? What did I do every 10 minutes? You probably can't remember most of it, right? Because we're not present for a lot of our life.
Yeah.
So that's what meditation's helped me with, is just being more present. But I'm not perfect. And I've been meditating for 10 years and I still find sometimes my mind is busy.
Yeah.
But it's a constant practice that you have to keep going at.
Yeah, 100% agree. And do you feel like your faith also helps you stay grounded?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm like hugely religious, but I have a very strong belief in God and, a relationship with God. So that's kind of personal to me, but I'd say definitely it keeps me grounded. It keeps me grateful for things.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like you said about the fast-paced society, is we literally have lost touch with like what's important sometimes. So like what's higher than us, you know, our businesses, us being a dentist, or this person's tooth didn't come out.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
like, there's things that are higher in life. And if we just take a step back and we appreciate that, everything is going to be okay. It leads me on to asking, you know, we know that dentistry is quite a stressful profession. We know a lot of people struggle with things like mental health, or I don't know, just challenges within dentistry. So can you talk about what's been a challenge for you and how you've dealt with it?
I'd say when I qualified, that was probably the biggest challenge. And it's a challenge I'm sure a lot of us can appreciate, because when you qualify, you literally feel like you don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's quite demoralizing, especially when I was in mixed practice, quite a heavily NHS practice. And it's hard when you can't take a tooth out, because you feel like, I don't know if everyone felt this way, but I always felt like when a patient comes to see me, they expect me to be able to do everything. So I should be able to take a tooth out and fill a tooth properly, because that's just like basic dentistry, right? But when you can't do it, it does knock your confidence quite a lot, and that comes across to patients. So that was definitely a struggle for me and starting out. But what helped me with that was, well, one, upskilling and being confident with also saying no to patients. That was definitely a skill that I've had to perfect even to this day, which is like being honest with patients when you can't do something.
Yeah. I think they will thank you for it
Yeah.
as well, rather than you trying to do
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
and I feel like we've also learnt, you know, as you practice more, you do learn that, yeah, you can't do everything. There are people that are better than you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're good at certain things, and they're good at certain things. In my FD year, I tried to take a tooth out. I failed, and my supervisor said I shouldn't try to take out anything but a grade 3 mobile tooth.
Wow.
So I feel like that really caused a bit of confidence loss. So yeah, we all lose confidence. Also, another thing is having a community or having friends that you can talk to about it. Because the first thing I do if I have anything like that is literally put it in the group chat, like, hey guys, this is what happened today.
Yeah.
So do you have something like that as well?
Yeah, I have the same thing. Like I have my best mates from uni, and we literally are just brutally honest with the day.
We need that,
Yeah.
right? What message would you give a dentist that is feeling stuck in their career? They feel like they want to try something different outside of dentistry, outside their scrubs. They're not sure where to start, or they've listened to this and they feel like they've really resonated. What should they do?
Experiment as much as you possibly can. I think it depends on the stage of life you're in. You know, if you've got kids or you've got responsibilities, this answer might change. But I mean, you do need to experiment as much as you possibly can to figure out what it is that you want to do. I'm sure every dentist has been in that position that you're in, so it's not something that you should feel bad about. I think everyone needs to have that moment of self-awareness where they really try and figure out what it is they want to do. And yeah, just play with stuff, experiment as much as you can. The internet's a beautiful place. You can learn pretty much anything. So there is no excuses really. Like you can learn anything you want. It's being intentional with learning what it is that you want.
Yeah, we're so privileged right now that with the internet, everything is at our fingertips. Like if we don't even know what we want to do, we can just make a list of things that we like doing and put it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, what do you think I should do? And is there anybody who shouldn't follow the path of copywriting that you've spoken about?
Anyone who shouldn't, so dentists who shouldn't, or types of people who shouldn't? Any
types of people, so not specifically dentists, but do you have to have a certain... obviously we know you have to have a bit of, you know, interest in writing, a passion for it, but anybody who shouldn't, or they might be doing it for the wrong reasons, like what do you think?
It's definitely not a business where you're going to make tens of thousands a month from the get-go. It's especially now with AI.
Yeah,
you're competing. So a lot of people will say, well, surely AI kind of eliminates the need to have an actual human writing, but actually what AI does is it's kind of leveled the playing field. So it's eliminated a lot of the B-tier, mid-tier kind of writers. And now you're competing. It kind of elevates your game, right? So you have to be that much more driven. You have to be that much more passionate. You have to be more creative so that you can compete with the other writers who are just typing something into ChatGPT and copying and pasting.
That's because I was going to ask you that, and then I actually didn't, because you mentioned how you really go into detail when you're writing things. So it does show that it can't be just done through AI, but maybe one day. But
we don't know. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so one question before we finish up is, if you weren't a dentist, what would your dream job be? Dream, not practical, dream.
See, that's an interesting one because I feel like that answer would have changed every decade of my life.
Yeah.
So when I was like 10, it would have been like a footballer. Yeah. 20, musician, 100%, like touring the world, that kind of thing. And then at this age, I'd say it would still be a writer, but not a copywriter.
Yeah.
But just writing books, stories or just nonfiction books, researching things and just writing about it.
Yeah.
I think that would be my dream job. So I'm not like far off.
So writer, and speaking on writer, tell us about your book.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've released like a short book. I mean, it's literally like 41 pages. It's super short. And it's called The Core Conversion Principles. And it's basically, it was initially designed to be for healthcare business owners and teaching them and kind of enabling them to understand what it takes to convert someone from a lead, so someone who's interested, to someone who's actually going to buy a product from them.
Okay.
And it was initially meant to be for just business owners. Mm-hmm. But then I realized actually as dentists and clinicians, we can benefit from that as well, because every day we're converting a potentially interested Invisalign lead into someone who wants to go ahead with Invisalign. I know dentists hate this word, but we are selling. Like, as much as you like it or not, we are selling. We're selling an idea.
Yeah. Or
we're selling, a service to someone. And like we alluded to at the start, we're doing it for that person. We're helping them.
100%.
So that's what this book kind of tackles, a lot of the psychological concepts behind it, what it takes to convert someone from potentially interested to interested. And yeah, it's one of hopefully the first of many. But
so you are basically, you're already doing your dream job. Yeah. So it's great. So you're already a published author. Yeah. That's fantastic. So we'll put a link down below about where everyone can get the book. I'm really excited to read it too. I'm sure that I'm going to learn a lot as well. Lastly, a message to everyone from you.
Okay.
Any message you just want to put out in the world.
Be grateful for what it is you have. And I'm speaking actually because I'm presuming a lot of people that are listening to this are dentists. So I'm going to say that even more to us, because we're so privileged in the lifestyle that we have and we've been afforded to have, that honestly, there's not many professions like ours.
Yeah, you're right.
There's not many professions where I could sit here saying, like, working 3.5 days, you know what, come on, I want to work 1 day a week now. I'm going to start in 2 months' time. I'm going to start working 1 day a week. Yeah. Most people do not have that luxury.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's a real privilege to be in the profession we're in.
You're right. And I think we have to also recognize that we worked hard to get where we are as well. Yeah. So give ourselves some props.
That's true too.
That.
Yeah.
So you can only work 3 to 1 days a week because you worked hard to get where you are. So that's really important as well. But a message from me is that we are more than scrubs, and our purpose on this earth is to do whatever we want to do, and nothing should hold us back. I understand there are, commitments and things in life that will, but we can even do just 10 minutes of something we love a day, and that should be enough to improve our lives even by 1%. So yeah, let's close it off there. Thank you.
Great.